Good morning. It's Thursday, January 12th, and today I am declaring that we are officially at war. We are not at war with any nation outside of the United States. We are at war internally. This is a battle between the Democrats and the Republicans and the Republican faction that considers themselves conservative. And they believe that they are under attack. Well, conservatism is not under attack. It's this particular group of so-called conservatives that may be under attack. And under attack is like an unfair comparison. They now have the majority and they have decided to run wild with that. And that's why I have declared it a war. So let me give you the definition of conservatism. And let's talk about how far afield this group of Republican so-called conservatives have gone. So let's take a look at the standard definition of conservatism in the United States. It is a political and social philosophy based on a belief in limited government, individualism, traditionalism, and republicanism, and limited federal governmental power in relation to the U.S. states. So that means that the federal government is not an all-powerful thing, and much of what we do in this country can be decided by the states. But it doesn't mean that we have to be tightwads. And it doesn't mean that we will cut funding from necessary activity. And it doesn't mean that we will go after the IRS department and reduce their funding because they upset a former president by reviewing him and looking at his tax returns. That is not what conservatism is. So we have a group of tight-knit Republicans, not all of them arch right-wingers. So they have pushed through a measure to create a powerful new committee to scrutinize what they have charged is an effort by the government to target and silence conservatives. The result of this measure has been the formation of a select subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government. And this subcommittee is going to be chaired by Representative Jim Jordan, an arch-conservative and a staunch ally of Mr. Trump. And Jim Jordan is also going to be the incoming chairman of the Judiciary Committee. And Jim Jordan is an extremist in the most extreme sense. So this committee does not bode well for the future of this government. So in his role as chairman of this subcommittee, Jordan has said he plans to use his power, subpoena and gavel, to escalate and expand the inquiry into the bias of federal law enforcement against conservatives. So Jim Jordan believes that the government, the federal government, the FBI, the Justice Department, has a bias against conservatives. And that is a terrible, terrible deal, I'll call it, for this government, to have somebody who believes something and is out to prove his belief. He's going to search and waste a lot of time looking for evidence that probably doesn't exist. And Jordan uses the First Amendment. He's protecting the First Amendment. He said because that right, the right in the First Amendment, was being unfairly used. Now, I don't understand how he comes to that conclusion, because from what I've seen about the First Amendment, it guarantees freedom concerning religion, expression, assembly, and the right to partition. I don't see where he can connect his evil or about to be evil deeds in protecting anything that the First Amendment talks about. We're not talking about religion here. We're talking about evil deeds that were done to this country. And it had nothing to do with religion. And Jordan claims he's not going after anyone. He just wants the procedures that were being used to stop, whatever that means. So I would discount everything that Jordan says because this panel has such a broad reach that it appeared positioned to become the main instrument for Republicans to go after the Biden administration, potentially prompting showdowns over access to classified information and other details of criminal inquiries. This subcommittee will have an open-ended jurisdiction to scrutinize any issue related to civil liberties or to examine how any agency of the federal government has collected, analyzed, or used any information. This is a broad-ranging attack on the administration, the current administration, and previous issues that have come up before the country. And the Republicans have decided that they have been the victims. The conservatives are the victims in this situation, and that's ridiculous. Right? They're going to use these activities to overcome and increase the exclusive territory of congressional intelligence committees, right? This is an insanity. It's been put together to punish the Democrats for being in power for the last 2 years, and to punish the Democrats for seeking justice on the January 6th so-called tourist event, which we know that many high-ranking Republican officials at first condemned it and then went crazy defending it, saying it was just a normal day of tourism. And 5 people died. 5 people died every day. There's a tourism around the Capitol, right? And then they think that Mr. Trump was unfairly treated when his property at Mar-a-Lago was searched. Well, the man's a liar, and the FBI had every right to search because they didn't believe him. Because constantly he said everything had been returned, but nothing had been returned. So now we have a committee that is going to defend and enforce the principles that were set forth so heinously by President Trump in his 4 years in office. And they intend to investigate the federal government encouraging Twitter to discriminate against Republicans, and to punish the government for the treatment of conservative or right-wing protesters at school board meetings and at abortion clinics. When did the government treat conservatives or right-wing protesters badly? Only if they got out of hand. This subcommittee and Jim Jordan are a disgrace to this country. It's a farce, and it's going to be carried to an extreme end. And it's disgusting that we in this country are going to sit through 2 years of bullshit. I leave you with that. Bye.